You're listening to Thunderquack Podcast Network. This is the Thunderquack Podcast, the official podcast of Thunderquack Podcast Network, where anything can happen. So strap yourselves in and hold on to your butts. It's Thunderquack time!
Hello and welcome back to the Thunderquack Podcast, the official podcast of Thunderquack.com, which you can get early every Tuesday over at patreon.com/Thunderquack, just like our Patreon producers, Brian Morowski and JJ Samuel do. Or, you can wait, you can get it late on Fridays, podcast services across the galaxy. I am one of your hosts, Michael Cohen.
And I'm your other host, Amanda Conkin.
Welcome. Yeah, I am in a state right now where I almost have too many things that I want to talk about. That I don't even know where to start, because I've just been I've just been consuming some really, really good stuff lately. I've still only seen Shang-Chi once, and it hurts that I have only seen Shang-Chi once. It especially hurts that I'll be seeing Venom on Thursday night, but I will have only seen Shang-Chi once.
I said it twice. This is like the first thing that I've ever
that you beat me to the punch on.
That I beat you to the punch on. Yeah.
But let me just throw out there really quick. Star Wars Visions was awesome. Incredible. Nice. All 9, I think, episodes I dropped all at once. They range from like 7 or 8 minutes to like 22 or 23 minutes a piece. So they're all each, it's an anthology, so everything's kind of a little bit different. The great thing about it is that there is such a variety of stories within it that I truly think that there's something for every type of Star Wars fan. If you don't care about Star Wars and you are only into anime, I don't know that you're necessarily going to get as much out of it. You might, but it is definitely more Star Wars and less anime, with the exception of maybe 2 of the shorts, which are a little bit more full on anime. But it's great. There's only a couple of them that I'll probably skip if I were to go in and rewatch. But there are also a couple in there that are some of my favorite Star Wars stories ever. So, like, mission accomplished as far as what the goal for Star Wars Visions was, which, if people don't know, is it's an anthology series of short stories set against a Star Wars backdrop, not necessarily in the universe, because they're not considered continuity, or at least it doesn't matter whether or not they're in continuity. And they're all done by some of the best anime studios out of Japan. Actually, I shouldn't say out of Japan. I don't know if they're all Japanese studios or not, but I know that several of them are Japanese studios. So, but it's fantastic, and everybody should go watch it. Check it out. Specifically, The Village Bride and The Ninth Jedi, I think are 2 very, very, very good Star Wars stories. The Elder is also another good one. La Pinocho is another really good one. So there's, like I said, there's 9 of them. They're awesome. Go watch them. You can even just it's one of those things where it's like you just watch like 1 or 2 at a time. You don't have to. There's no storyline that goes through it all. Like, each one is its own thing, and they also don't really connect to the movies. They don't really connect to any of the other like expanded universe stuff. They're just like, it's really nice to have Star Wars content that's just like, here, enjoy a Star Wars. without like baggage or research that needs to be done or context that needs to be given or anything like that. It's just like, as a matter of fact, and with some of them, it's like you got to turn that stuff off because it's this actually doesn't make sense. This actually isn't part. It's like because a couple of them are almost like reimaginings. The first one, Ronin, is very much like a feudal Japan, but they have lightsabers and blasters, and there are alien species from Star Wars and stuff like that. But it is very much like, uh, 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 that's one of the ones that's like very anime, um, and less Star Wars. It's almost like they borrowed aesthetic from Star Wars and put and overlaid it onto an existing anime story. But it's yeah,
The,
there's
the
cool
thing
stuff in
might
there, and
be,
there's
yeah,
something in there for every anime fan, I think, and every Star Wars fan. So if either of those things appeal to anybody, I think check that out.
yeah. I mean, the thing I keep hearing is how beautiful it is. That's like what, not just from you,
Oh,
but from like other,
I
like,
mean,
it's just like, yeah.
yeah, it's that's almost one of those things where it's like I'm not even gonna say it because it's like, yeah, Lucasfilm gave the 7 of the best anime studios in the world a bunch of money and said go do your thing, which is, I think, the best part of it is that they were just like, go do your thing. This isn't a show; it's a series, and each one of them can be whatever it's going to be. And some of them feel very open ended to where you're like, so in season 2 we're going to get more of this. Is that um, or like they definitely leave it open. I mean, one of the stories is very much like, hey, this is the first chapter of a much bigger story. Um, and for me is like, this could this could very well be the future of Star Wars if they wanted it to be. That like the story takes place like way in the future, and so it's like it's so disconnected from everything else that it's like, yeah, just go tell a new story. It's really really cool. um yeah, go check that out. Amanda and I were talking a little bit, and if you want to hear in more detail, then you gotta pay $10. But I am caught up on Ted Lasso as of today. Since the last time you and I recorded, I have watched all of Ted Lasso, basically. Uh,
Nice.
and
Wow. That's
and
impressive. I remember you
it's
saying that you were going to watch didn't you tweet that you were going to watch that and Midnight Mass like in tandem with one another and
I
then
yes,
just mess
that was the
yourself up?
plan. That was the plan, was that okay, I'll watch like an episode of Midnight Mass, and then I'll watch an episode of Ted Lasso as like a palate cleanser before I go to bed, so that I'm not
Yeah.
going to bed thinking about Midnight Mass. Two things happened. Ted Lasso is so good that I just mainlined it. I was just like, hook it to my vein, go. And I've watched the most recent 3 episodes this morning while I was working. Don't tell my coworkers or my bosses, because I was definitely much more focused on Ted Lasso than I was on work. I was getting work done, but maybe not as efficiently as I could have been. I'll make up
I'm
for it
always so
tomorrow. It's not a
jealous
big deal.
that artists get to watch TV while they do their
That I can
things
have
because
a
that happens
second. I have 3 monitors,
everywhere.
right? So I've got the laptop
Yeah,
screen
yeah,
and then
yeah.
I have the 2 monitors. So it's very easy to throw something up. No, normally it's ASMR because it helps me focus. But
Okay.
which for anybody who's keeping score, like I said in that episode where we talked about ASMR, I was like, this might be one of those things where it's like I do it like crazy for 2 weeks and then drop off and forget that I ever had that phase. That has not been the case. It's part of my work routine. It's part of my daily routine, really, because it's just like it's been very helpful in allowing me to focus. Ted Lasso is the opposite of that, but it made my morning very very enjoyable. My afternoon was not so great, but I had finished Ted Lasso by then, so are these things related? Probably. Um, but yeah, so I had to mainline that. The other thing is that Midnight Mass, which is the third thing that I was going to bring up, is not what I thought it was going to be. It's very different. If you've watched The Haunting of Hill House and The Haunting of Bly Manor, those are both ghost stories. Strictly speaking, ghost stories, right? And they're both phenomenal. Mike Flanagan's a genius. He just his he wields the horror genre like a weapon to tell dramatic character stories. And it's like, I don't know that there's anybody else out there that tells stories the way that he tells them. He's so good. Midnight Mass is not a ghost story. I'm not going to say what it is because I want people to experience that for themselves. But just if Hill House and Bly Manor were not your cup of tea, because you don't want to watch spooky ghost shows that are
That's
like,
me.
because they're like The Grudge or The Ring,
Yeah,
like
they're
creepy
freaky.
ghosts out of the corner of your eye. Midnight Mass is scary. It's creepy, it's tense, it's stressful, it's suspenseful. But um at a certain point the story opens up and you figure out what it is, what it's actually about. And I'm only 4 episodes in. So take all
Wow.
of this with that. There's 7 episodes, so I'm about halfway through. I'm halfway through the 4th episode. So I am literally at the halfway point.
So hopefully
So
you understand
far,
what it's about by now. I don't know.
yeah. So far it started with some of like your like the very like stock Mike Flanagan stuff that I expected, but then in the last episode and a half it's like veered into this other territory that is a different thing that yeah, I will probably talk about it on an October off the record. uh I think, I mean, maybe that, I guess that's the next episode that I record, right?
I
So
think so. Yeah.
yeah, I will I'll talk about it on the next one, and I'll get into it because I think it's worth talking about. But I and Amanda, you're not gonna watch this show, right?
I can't imagine I will because it even though it's not like Bly Manor or the really haunting spoopy stuff, I still think it's probably too creepy for me to watch.
Yeah, I mean,
So
like, though I will say there are a lot of jump scares of a pair of glowing eyes, and like they don't glow in like a cartoony or like like ghost monster movie way, but in like a
mhm,
very um like nature documentary, like shining a
interesting.
flashlight into a field at night and seeing a bunch of eyes staring back at you. um so it's like
Well,
there are a lot of jump scares with that sort of stuff. uh so far that is as spooky scary as it's gotten, and for me it's like a whatever, that's fine. I'll manage. I won't look in any mirrors late at night right now, but while I'm watching the show, I but I'll be fine. I'll survive. I'm not gonna give myself any heart attacks. But there is like another context that gets added onto it that for me takes it out of like spooky scary into a different genre. That for me is easier to yeah, it goes into a much more fantastical place than a supernatural place. That's all. That's
all
as
right.
far as I'm gonna go.
Cool.
But I'm loving it. It's so good. I mean, I think that Mike Flanagan, like I said, I think he's a genius. He is. There aren't a lot of auteurs that work in television, right? It tends to be like the auteur tends to work in film because they have more control. But as we've talked about over the last couple of years, streaming services have created this space, and Mike Flanagan's a really great example of like Netflix has basically, like, Netflix just writes a check to him every year now and says, "Get us a show by Halloween, please," and he does. And it's perfect because it's like, because I'm just like I'm right in the mood for this right now. It's September, it's gloomy outside. Like, give me some spooky scaries. And yeah, it's just, it's exactly, uh it might not be what my expectations had in mind, But it is exactly what I wanted from him. Like, and as I talk about a lot of the time, I really like being surprised by stuff. Like, this is a great example of it. Of like, I thought I was going into one thing, and in the second episode, I'm like, is this a no, I'm probably being silly. And then in the third episode, I was like, oh no, awesome. It is what I thought it was. And it just, yeah, it makes me very happy. Because it's an aspect of a specific horror genre that I don't think gets treated this way very often, and has been treated in a very poor way by a franchise that, Amanda, you love. I very poorly, very poorly. Just done.
You are getting very spoilery now, just so you know.
I think
There's enough
I
people know us enough, like even
I
now I know what Midnight Mass is about.
I think that yeah, that was a hint for you,
That
and
was
I think
now
that,
I'm like,
like, you know,
huh. Yeah, I know.
but
Interesting. That's
yeah,
not what I would have expected at all. That's not how they're
yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah.
All
We'll
right.
talk about
All
it.
right.
I'll tell you.
Yeah.
I'll give you some more details off mic after
Yeah,
we're done
yeah.
recording,
Yeah,
because I
yeah.
think,
Okay,
like,
cool.
if there was one that you were gonna watch, like, there are two
It
reasons.
would be this one. Yeah.
What I'm skirting around, and also Rahul Kohli is
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like, he
I
is
love him.
just I
He's so
just
great.
I tweeted yesterday while I was watching, I love him. And not like
Yeah.
I love his performances or I love the characters that he plays. I love him. I am in love with him in the same way that I am in love with Oscar Isaac. And he's on the list. He's on the list.
Well, there you go.
But here's the thing about
Wow.
Rahul Kohli, okay?
Mhm.
Here's the thing. They keep shooting these things in Vancouver. He's also friends with the guys from Kind of Funny. I have had
Oh.
conversations with the guys from Kind of Funny. I feel like I am only a couple of degrees removed from Rahul Kohli, and I
Whoa.
could very well end up in the same room with him at some point in my life, and that's a very dangerous game for me to be playing, you know.
There you go.
But
Yeah.
I'm gonna play it nonetheless. I
Okay.
don't care. I will play with this
No.
fire.
There you go.
And
Okay.
I'm gonna play with this specific fire, kind of hoping that I get burned. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like,
Ooh, racy. How
yeah, like,
exciting.
it wouldn't be the worst thing. It wouldn't be the worst thing. The burn would be worth it, and it would be like that good kind of burn. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Uh,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, Midnight Mass is fantastic. I think that everybody should go watch it. As soon as we're done here, I'm gonna finish the fourth episode, and I'll probably watch the next three over the course of like the next day or two. So yeah, I'll
All right.
I will circle back to this conversation with you, the listeners, on Tuesday. In 1 week, you guys will
Okay.
get my full thoughts on Midnight Mass. What have you been watching, Amanda? I just talked about three things that I'm in love with. What
Oh man.
what are you wasting your time on that you're not finishing Community or
Wasting my
watching Ted
time on.
Lasso or The
Thank
Incredible
you.
Hulk?
So,
Actually, The
I mean,
Incredible Hulk is fine. You don't have to watch that.
it's a bad week for me to talk about this because it's not anything that people probably are familiar with. But I am like, you know what? More often than not, people do understand. Like, people watch the Netflix Korean dramas, so I feel like I'm not completely out on a ledge. But there's a new one that is on. I feel like I talked about it previously, but called Hometown Cha Cha, and it comes out every weekend.
I think you
And
have talked about this one.
I have, and it's like I'm watching it because I watched another Netflix one called Startup, and the guy, I thought that the lead character was the wrong guy. Like, I clocked the wrong lead, and I was really upset about it. Anyways, the guy that didn't wind up being the lead of Startup is the lead in this, so he will because Korean dramas are reliable. He will get the girl at the end, which makes me happy. And so that's why I started watching it. And I wasn't really into it in the beginning, but now I'm like, they've gotten into the good stuff. So I'm like, I'm enjoying it. So I am watching that, but because it's only on like every weekend, I need to watch something during the week. So I was watching random shipper videos, as I tend to do. And then I saw this one that's like, that just seemed like it had cool scenes from it, and it's called Tempted. And basically it's a Korean adaptation of Dangerous Liaisons. So like the French novel that was Cruel Intentions. So if people like have seen Cruel Intentions, which people should have watched Cruel Intentions because it's a joyful 90s romp. But anyways, it was like an adaptation of that. And I kind of like it when Korean dramas get to be a little bit like racy, and because they never do. So it was kind of nice to like watch a Korean drama that reminded me so much of Gossip Girl, and that just made me really happy. Um and it was like shorter episodes. So that is something that I have recently watched. And then like I say, I'm watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I think I told you that already because it came back.
Mhm.
And so I was trying to finish that up. So I'm almost done Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And then I'm not watching any real television though. Like that in terms of like I feel like the stuff that everybody's watching. Maybe that's not true. I'm watching I watched did I already talk about watching Worth? The it's like a biopic basically about the lawyer that was in charge of doling out the like victims compensation fund after nine
Oh,
11,
the Michael
and
Keaton.
because I yeah,
Yeah. No,
Michael
you haven't
Keaton.
talked about that.
And
Have you
so
been
I
watching it?
yeah, I did. So I did. So I watched that. It's a movie, and I
Okay.
watched it while I was in New York because I was in New York for 9/11, like the anniversary, like the 20th
Yeah.
anniversary. And I didn't wind up doing like going down to like any of the stuff, but I was like, you know what, I sort of want to watch this and see. And it's harrowing, obviously, but it's like, but in a way that is like, I really like it. Like if you like The Big Short or like movies that are about things that actually happened that are kind of, I really
Mhm.
like those kinds of movies tonally. So I enjoyed watching it. But then what it prompted me is to watch there's a Netflix documentary series that's like 6 episodes, and it's called like 9/11 The Path to Here or something. I can't really remember exactly what it is. But it's like the recent 9/11 doc. And
Yeah.
what I can tell is, and so it's I mean, I paid very little attention to what was happening at the time. I think like I mean we all were paying attention to 9/11 when it happened, but
Yeah, but we
I
were
tried really
children,
hard to not
Amanda.
like we
You
were
can cut yourself
children.
some
Yeah,
slack on
exactly.
this one.
Yeah. Yeah. But it is graphic and disturbing and upsetting to watch these episodes. So I'm only 3 episodes in, but
Mm.
I can tell that the 6th episode is basically what do we do now that we're mucking up Afghanistan again? Like that's basically like you can see that that's because it goes into like what was happening at the time that the like the terrorists were planning 9/11, and you look and you're kind of like, hey, we should really be careful about how we like let regime changes like take over in time. Like it's so now that the Taliban is back in power, it's anyways, I can tell that that's where the doc is leading, is sort of a like
Mhm.
deconstruction of like what do we do now and how do we stop this from happening, because the biggest thing about looking back at it is just that all of the pieces and how they fit together, and how this happened, that you can see the evolution of what happened. And when you could clock that and you look at what's happening now and you go, well, what we need to do something to make parts of the world hurt less so that individuals don't feel like
Yeah.
they need to react in that. And I know that that's really um really reductive, but it's like history repeating itself, right? It's been 20 years and Afghanistan is right back where it was 20 years ago, right? And you just
Yep.
kind of go, what, like, how do you get there again? Like,
Yeah.
how does that happen? How do we as a society let that happen? Anyways, so a little light fare that I've got on my on my palette right now. So you can tell why I watch the Korean dramas to sort of go in between it, but definitely I do recommend Worth for sure. Michael Keaton is great in it, and the other woman is Amy something. She plays Holly in The Office. And so I think she does a pretty good job too. So I enjoyed that.
Cool.
So yeah, that's the stuff. That's my. I feel like there's definitely other Netflix recs. If I like thrillers, I would watch Squid Game. I feel like people should watch Squid Game because it's doing so well on Netflix, and I think that it's cool to give more Korean television shows love, and everybody likes the thrillers. So, what else? I don't know. I feel like there's always things. I want to watch Cinderella, but I haven't yet. That's like on my list. Oh, and the My Little Pony movie came out. Sorry, I'm just thinking about this because I went
Oh,
to
we
go
watched
see
it.
Mike and
We
Cooper's
watched it.
Kids. Oh, did you?
Yeah, My Little
Oh,
Pony: The Next
okay.
Generation. Yeah, we watched it
Yeah,
on
yeah.
Saturday.
Oh,
Saturday, yeah,
okay.
because
Okay.
Crystal was working. Um,
Nice.
yeah, I put it on for the girls, and it was pretty good. It was pretty good.
It seems
I don't
cute.
know.
It seems cute. So
It,
yeah, it's. I
it's
mean,
got
I think
it
it's
has
fun.
some moments, but to me, it's almost. I like the cast a lot. It's a really great cast. I but there are a few jokes where it's like this is trying a little bit too hard to be like a Lego movie,
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
like a hey,
Mhm.
look at all of our pop culture references within this pop culture reference. And it's like, yeah, I don't know that like they are moments that don't really do anything to serve the story. They're just there's a lot of visual gags, and there's a lot of pun brands in the background that
Right.
it's like, all right, okay, like the word pony in the Sony font, like it's the Sony logo but it's pony on a big screen TV, and it's like, okay, I don't know, it's cute, but like, but it also is a little bit, it's also a little, you're also a little bit like, okay guys, like we get it. After like the fifth one you're like, okay, thanks. But like the core story is really good. um the s- the songs could have used maybe another draft. There's a couple of them, because there's, I think there's like 5 songs or something like that in it. I was only half paying attention, as like I was like on my phone doing stuff while the girls were watching, and we were eating lunch, and so I'm cleaning up and stuff like that, so I didn't really like track it, but I think there was like 5 times that they break into song. And there's a couple of them, I don't know any of the characters names. Ken Jeong plays one of the ponies, uh and he has like it's like it's like they wanted it to be like the Scar be prepared
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
moment
Mhm.
in Lion King, where you're like, wait a second, those hyenas are goose stepping. And it's like, because for those who don't know, the story of it is that like this is like, for some reason far in the future of the My Little Pony mythology, like connecting into the friendship is magic stuff, where it's like this is like, I don't know, they never give a time frame, but like 1,000 years or something like that in the future. So they have like, the ponies now have technology and stuff, like they have TVs and rollerblades, and it's not fantasy based like Friendship is Magic was. I But so it's more like they're more like all like modern and stuff like that. Um but the 3 types of ponies: Earth ponies, regular ponies; Pegasus ponies, which are ponies with wings;
Fine. Yeah.
and unicorn ponies, which are ponies with a single, unicorn horn. They've all, something happened. I don't. I maybe I missed it. I don't think we ever get a proper explanation of what happened, but something happened in the past where there was a war between these 3 factions. My Little Pony is so ridiculous now. It's the greatest.
I love
It's
it so much.
fantastic.
This cast is amazing, by the way.
The
People
cast
should
is
look it up.
fantastic. Like the cast is
It's
like
yeah. It's like
top
got the
shelf
core
cast.
like voice actors that are the
Yeah.
voice actors of it, like Tara Strong and like Ashley
No,
Ball and
okay,
Andrea
so
Rickards.
they're all
Are they not?
credited, but they're only
They're credited.
a couple of them. A couple of them do a couple of additional voices. Most of them are credited because there is literally like 2 minutes at the beginning, and
Oh,
then
okay.
we
Okay.
don't see those characters ever again. So like
Okay.
it
But that's
it
good that they're
opens with
at least
those
there. Yeah, yeah.
characters, and then it very
Right.
quickly shifts gears into the new,
Into a
the
different thing.
what do they call
Okay.
it, the new generation, whatever.
Right.
I
With
I
Vanessa Hudson's.
Yeah, exactly.
Hudgens, whatever. James Marsden, I love him. Anyways,
Yeah.
yes, you're talking like the big war, and then they have to like find out. I mean, I watched the trailer.
Yeah, so well, I'm telling the listeners, Amanda,
Okay.
not just
Okay.
telling you.
Well,
They
they can also watch the trailer
they can,
or
but
listen
they're
to the
listening to the
podcast.
podcast right now, so
So
I'm
there
going to
you
tell
go.
them I'm better
Okay.
than the
Good.
trailer.
You do it.
Uh,
That's fair. I support that.
so they're all separated, and like these three races of ponies. Like they never say the word race, but look, come on, let's be honest with what we're doing here. These three different races of ponies are now segregated, and afraid of each other because it's been however long, and they've all just learned to avoid, like they don't have any contact whatsoever until this story begins. And of course, our hero, I the Vanessa Hudgens pony, her father, I is like an archaeologist basically. He's an archaeologist pony, makes perfect sense. I It's so ridiculous. Like it's so hard to say this stuff. And he's like, yeah, well, like this is what everybody says, but according to my latest findings, I at one point in time, all of the different ponies got along, and I can't find a reason for why everybody's afraid of each other or whatever. So it's like, so maybe we could get back to that. And so she's been raised with that mentality. But then, like, there are a couple of other characters that are very like, oh man, not to put too fine a point on it, but they are definitely mega ponies.
Mm.
Jane Krakowski plays a pony who, she runs like a tech company, and the point of this tech company is like to protect them against their Earth ponies, right? So to protect them against the Pegasus ponies and the unicorn ponies.
Whoa.
I And so she runs like Tesla basically, but Tesla for xenophobes.
Right.
Like, you know
Yes.
what? Maybe I don't
Or
even need to
Tesla.
qualify
Just
that.
say Tesla.
That's just
Yeah, there you
Tesla.
go.
Yeah,
Tesla.
I think we're all under. I think we've all realized now that Elon Musk is a horrible person. Cool. And so Ken Jeong is it's so weird. Like there's no logic to it, to some of the casting. They were just like, cool person, cool person, cool person, cool person, go be in this movie. A lot of really great funny people that give great performances. But Ken Jeong plays her son, Jane Krakowski's son, which is like, doesn't make any sense in terms of like the two of them. I'm just talking age wise. Like, it's like, it doesn't make any sense. And Ken Jeong doesn't really do anything to make himself sound younger, but that's fine. He's very funny in it, and he like declares himself emperor at one point, and then he sings a song that was supposed to be his Scar be prepared moment, and the song is not good. It's not good. So the other songs are like catchy, like Vanessa Hudgens sings a song, and you're like, yeah, it's a kids movie, but it's a bop, like it's a good song. I don't want to listen to it, but my girls got up and danced at the end of the movie. I
Cute.
danced like crazy, and that's the point. It's not for me, right? It's for them. So like, I'm not that is a I'll call it an appropriate judgment, right? It's like I'm being
Yeah.
judgy, but it's like, yeah, this is not for me. um, but yeah, that one Ken Jeong song, I was like I stopped what I was doing and was like, what is happening right now? This is like this is borderline inappropriate. I don't like, and I'm watching it. You're like, they are totally going for that be prepared vibe, but
Right.
like, come on, you can't, you're not, I don't know who they got to write these songs for the My Little Pony movie, but I mean, like, it's not Elton John, so it's not that good. Yeah, yeah, they shot for the stars, and they missed on that one,
They
but
landed a certain amount of
I
original
appreciate the
music is
attempt.
by Hietor Pereira,
Sure.
the guy that also did Angry Birds, it looks like. Original
Okay.
music. That's composer. That's composer, not necessarily songwriter.
Yeah,
V for
I'm sure
Vendetta,
that
Tears of the Sun, Despicable Me. Interesting.
the Angry Birds
I like it.
movies, both of them, very good. Very good kids movies. I mean,
No.
like they're not gonna change your life or anything like that, but pretty good. Pretty good. The best kids
Okay.
movies of the last few years, coming out of China, Pearl Studio.
Yeah.
Fantastic stuff. They did Abominable, which is one of my favorite
Yeah, I
animated
remember that.
movies
Yeah,
from the
yeah.
last 5
Yeah.
years. They did Over the Moon, which just came out on Netflix
Right.
not that long
Yeah, yeah,
ago.
yeah. Yeah.
Very good. And I think they've got one other one that they did that I really like, but I can't remember what it was. But yeah, it's funny. Like Disney and Pixar have been doing decent stuff. I think good stuff.
Dude,
But
this guy did the music also for Paw Patrol, the movie.
there you go. That makes sense.
What a big
Did I talk about the Paw Patrol movie?
and Smallfoot. You
The
didn't wind up talking about Paw
the
Patrol,
Paw
I don't
Patrol
think.
movie was really good.
You said something like it was something firing on all I don't you used some sort of
yeah.
eh,
It
like
did everything that a
yeah.
Paw Patrol movie was supposed to do. It's hype from start to finish. Like
That's what you said.
is
Hype
that
from
yeah.
start to finish. That's what you said.
100%. Like they just cranked it up to 11 and they were like, "Don't touch that knob." The whole movie. The whole movie is just like
Amazing.
in the Paw Patrol theme song, or not the theme song, but like when they're morphing into their Power Ranger forms.
Yeah.
Because Paw Patrol is Power Rangers for uh, preschoolers.
Yeah.
There's like a beat that's like the lyric of them going like go 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 go, and it's just like
Nice.
if if the movie had a vibe, it was that beat just the whole time. And like they didn't literally do it. It's not a Christopher Nolan movie. They're not that lazy. But I can you believe that I just used the Paw Patrol movie to make a dig at Christopher Nolan, one of the most like
That's
critically acclaimed directors
I know.
of our
Yes.
generation?
Yes, I
Like,
love it. I love it.
but I stand by it because what a hack. He's just made the same movie 15 times. I don't know how many movies he's made. Interstellar is not a good movie. No one will ever convince me that Interstellar is a good movie. That movie is boring as
I enjoyed it.
expletive. And it's like, yeah, just
Dude.
it's almost like cultural appropriation of science. Because like at a certain point you're like you are saying a lot of scientific things. You are saying a lot of scientific things.
What science fiction is. I don't understand what you want.
Except that Christopher Nolan has this attitude with his films, and it extends to the way that he talks to people in interviews as well. That he actually knows what he's talking about. Whereas like I don't think that anybody's gonna go to Dune and be like, I'm going to make some logical conclusions about space travel based on this film. Whereas Interstellar acts like, hey, this is how it would actually be. And it's like, oh, no. This is silly. This is silly sci-fi. It's hard sci-fi, but it's silly hard sci-fi. Like, don't act like Miller's Planet is like based on actual science. It's based on scientific theory, but it's not. But it's very much like, hey, let's take some science and do some like sandbox science fiction with it. But he's very good at convincing the audience that he researched something. And it's just like Inception, where it's like if you stop for 2 seconds and think about Inception, that movie just crumbles like sand. Like it just and that's, to me, that's all of his movies with the exception of Memento and The Prestige. I really like I honestly feel like
I do like those two.
He peaked really early. Paw Patrol, however, knows exactly what it is and delivers exactly what you asked for, and is I mean, like, for what it wants to be, it's a 10 out of 10. So it is as good as a Paw Patrol movie is gonna get. I'll tell you that.
Well, there you go.
I mean, animated. I think if they did a live
yes,
action one, that they could take it to another level. And I would love to talk to those producers and figure out why they decided against that, because I think that a live action Paw Patrol would be like earth shattering, but they didn't.
But it's one of the few, because it's one of the few properties that's actually owned by an animation company, right?
Yeah.
So there, animation.
Well, I'm an animation company. No, it's owned by a toy company, actually.
Well, yes. I mean,
Spin Masters is primarily Spin Masters. Yeah.
Toys.
They're
Um,
called Spin Masters. They're a toy company through and through.
I have to talk about Kamiko Glenn because I hadn't paid attention to who she is.
Yeah.
Because she is the voice in it of the Izzy Moonbeam or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But she is Penny Parker from Spider-Verse, and then
Yep.
also in a bunch of stuff. She plays Kara in your Star Wars Visions.
She does.
That you talked about. Yeah. How
she
cool.
does. Yep.
Anyways.
She is having a
It's also
moment
in Over the
as well.
Moon.
Yeah. Yep.
She's in so many things.
And she's
Gosh.
awesome. She's such a great voice actor.
Yeah.
She's
Nice.
really nailed it
Cool.
on a bunch of stuff. Yeah.
Nice. And she also does live action, and that's I think rare for somebody that was so staunchly like she's like staunch in live in voice acting, but she's also done a few like actual IRL life.
Yeah, she was also on DuckTales. She was Lena on DuckTales. She's Soso on Orange is the New Black. If you watched far enough into that series, I think she shows up in season 3 or 4.
Cool. Nice.
Yeah. I think Orange is the New Black is probably the thing that people would recognize her from in live action.
Right.
But
ooh, she was in Voltron? Man alive.
Was she? Who did she play in Voltron?
Yeah. Voltron Legendary Defender.
Oh.
Azor in 14 episodes. Azor? I don't know. I don't
remember that character.
I
need to watch Voltron again. That's one of those ones that I feel like I need to. But the problem with Voltron and a rewatch is that like the first 2 seasons are a little rough. Like it doesn't. It's kind of like
watch.
Really? Oh, like the later stuff, all of a sudden, like it turns into like a full on anime. The first 2 seasons are more like Saturday morning cartoon of like, and then we went to this planet and had this adventure, and it's like, okay, this is like it's fun, like I enjoy it, but the best thing that they do in Voltron Legendary Defender is that Voltron, like all of the lions coming together into Voltron, doesn't happen every episode. Which is the like that's the easy that's like Power Rangers every episode they use the Megazord, but on Voltron it's like, and especially as the series goes on, it's like you see Voltron less and less, but also it becomes more and more impactful when you do, because it's like, oh, like now this is the real stuff. That show, oh man, that show gets so good, and I don't know that if I'm in the majority in that sentiment, but I really enjoyed it. I really like the end.
I mean, I liked what I watched. I liked what I watched, and again, maybe it's just now you're making me think that I don't finish things, because I definitely didn't finish watching that.
You don't finish things. I'm surprised you finished Smallville. I'm surprised you finished Arrow with me.
Come on.
At this point now, I'm very surprised about these things. I feel like here's the deal. Here's the deal, Amanda. If I didn't get that TiVo in 2008 or whatever it was and start recording Smallville and holding onto those recordings and watching it with you,
yes,
would you have finished Smallville? No, I think that there's a 50-50 chance that that we would be sitting, and we wouldn't be sitting here doing a podcast right now. But
I would have been worse for it, because the better seasons are the latter seasons, in my opinion, because that's when Melissa's there.
Oh, the last 2 seasons are some of the best of the show. Yeah, it's like the first 3 seasons and then the last 2. That to me. Everything in the middle and then there,
just muck in the middle.
I don't know.
Season 8 is pretty rough. I don't know.
Yeah. Season 8's Doomsday.
Yeah.
Not good. Oh, even though it does heavily feature guy liner himself, Sam Witwer.
I mean, he's good.
But here's the thing. Season 8 of Smallville, I give a pass because it didn't introduce me to Sam Witwer. I think The Mist introduced me to Sam Witwer.
Really?
Yeah.
The remake of Being Human introduced me to Sam Witwer.
Well, so I don't think that that's accurate, because I don't think that Being Human happened until after season 8 of Smallville, Amanda.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
because it ran for 4
Maybe I
seasons.
watched it because of Sam Witwer then.
This is what I'm driving at. That's where I was going. But you
Oh,
didn't
okay.
just derail the train. You like Solo style, you blew up the bridge that the train was about to cross. And now
Okay.
if unless I can get this thing attached and Chewie can get the thing decoupled, we're gonna blow up against a mountain because the coaxium is highly volatile. Best
Huh.
Star Wars
Yeah,
movie.
no, this was definitely after.
Yeah, no, you just like you needed to check. You needed to check.
Sorry, I
No one else
didn't.
needed to check. Everybody else heard the conviction in my voice of like, Amanda, that doesn't logically make any sense. That Sam Witwer, what did they do? Take a year off of being human so he could go be on Smallville? No, he did one and then the other. But he was in the mist before that. And I'm pretty sure that's the first time. It might not have been the first time that I saw him in something. I'd have to look at his IMDb, which I will right now. But it is the first time that I took note of Sam Witwer and his piercing, beautiful eyes. Oh man, what a pretty man that Sam Witwer is. One of the best vampires ever
See,
on
now
screen.
here's my problem is that I quite like the Aiden dude that played the vampire in the original, and so I could never quite
Yeah,
get into him as the vampire
you
in
know
this
what?
one.
You can go ahead and like your crybaby being human,
I
but
can. Yep. I
uh
will enjoy my
but
crybaby. Thank you very much.
yeah, it's not.
Fine.
See, here's the thing about Sam Witwer. The Mist is absolutely not the first time that I ever saw him in something because he was on an episode of ER. He was on an episode of Dark Angel. I haven't seen all of
Ooh.
ER, so I mean, like,
I
it's
watched all of
possible.
Dark Angel. Come
But I've
on.
definitely watched all of Dark Angel. He's in an
Yeah.
episode of Angel.
Oh. Maybe I'll look into that.
He's in an episode of Enterprise. I probably haven't seen that one because Enterprise sucks.
And he plays Sloth number 3. I don't know if we would have necessarily
um
recognized.
I didn't see him in Battlestar Galactica. I know that that's where a lot of people were introduced to him because he's in 11 episodes of Battlestar Galactica, but I've never been able to get into Battlestar. He's in an episode of Bones. He's in 3 episodes of Dexter before he was in The Mist. He is in 1 episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Muscular guy in store.
I love
Have I
it.
watched that one yet? 2007.
I
Well, yeah,
don't
that's
know.
season 3. I'm past season 3. I must have already seen that one. Maybe I noticed it when I was watching it and have forgotten.
Yeah.
And then he's in The
Yeah.
Mist. And then he's Darth Vader's secret apprentice. That character actually does have a name. It's Galen Merrick, but um, in The Force Unleashed, Star Wars, The Force Unleashed, and then he did Smallville, and then he did The Force Unleashed 2, and then he's in The Walking Dead for 2 episodes as Tank Soldier. Oh, he's in the beginning. He's in
Oh.
like the beginning of season 1. Because there's like the flashback, isn't there, to the soldier that Rick finds in the tank, or is it Rick or Glenn? I can't remember.
Probably. I don't
Long
know.
time, long time, long
I
time since then.
definitely only watched the first few episodes. Man, I didn't finish that either. Holy, this is upsetting.
See, like,
Like
here's the
when we have
thing: is that
revelations.
Smallville, 2008 to 2009,
Yeah.
Being Human, 2011 to 2014. It's 2
Yeah.
years after he
Yeah.
finished his run on Smallville.
Yeah.
Being Human
I-
starts.
Uh-huh.
You're ridiculous, Amanda.
Everything means the same to me. It's all the past. I don't know.
And
I'm
then he's
old.
eventually in the Clone Wars, or I guess he was in the Clone Wars at somewhere in there, but Clone Wars isn't going to show up until way later because his most recent appearance is from last year. So,
Well,
yeah.
okay.
Sam Witwer's in everything Star Wars now, by the way. I don't know if everybody
I
is
saw
aware
that.
of that. But
Yeah.
he's in Clone Wars, he's in Battlefront 2, he's in Star Wars Rebels, he's in Solo obviously because he's Darth Maul. In that he's the voice and Ray Park is the body. He's in Fallen Order as just random characters in the background. Vader Immortal, Star Wars Resistance. He's just in all of the Star Wars stuff. Yeah, Sam Witwer's fantastic.
What were we actually talking about? I
We
feel like I
nothing.
derailed that real hard.
Nothing.
Okay,
We
good.
were
We're
talking
good.
about
I'm
My
just
Little
making
Pony,
sure.
and that's how we got to
Okay.
Sam Witwer. Relax about
Okay,
it.
good.
We were gonna
I
talk
feel-
about the whole Marvel losing the rights to
That's
Spider-Man and a bunch of
boring.
other characters, but
And instead
who
we could talk
cares?
about My Little Pony. My Little
You,
Pony in Smallville.
yeah.
It's delightful.
Here's the thing with the Marvel stuff. This is the only thing that I need to say on it. Everybody just
Okay.
needs to calm down. Everybody needs to relax. We went through this a few years ago with Superman and the Schuster estate, the Schuster and Siegel estates, um, and the character of Superboy was not allowed to be used for several years until eventually they made a deal, and then Superboy's back. They literally killed him in the comics because they couldn't use him, and then it ended, and they brought him back, and since then Superboy's in almost everything. I yeah, like we might end up with the same thing here. I don't think that we will. I think that Warner Brothers is a lot grumpier about this sort of thing. I think Disney has. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Disney has better legal counsel that is going to figure out a solution to this, and that the Disney executive is better at this stuff and cares more about this stuff than AOL Time Warner, which is like primarily a telecommunications company that happens to also own DC Comics. Like it is not it is that is very different from Disney, which yes is another omni global megacorp, but it's an omni global megacorp that was founded on IP, right? Not on charging you to access phone lines. So AOL Time Warner has a tendency to look at their IP as things that get licensed out and commodities to be sold and traded for profit. Whereas Disney, I think, as a corporation, just in its DNA, has a tendency to look at properties and IP as like ways to tell stories that happen to make them a lot of money. Right. They're much better at looking at it and going like, if we tell good stories, we make a lot of money, as opposed to Warner Brothers, which we have watched over the last few years. I look at Marvel and go, what are they doing? How can we do that but different? Because we just want to make money off of these IPs that we happen to own because we bought them a million years ago. So yeah, I think that Disney will do a much better job of sorting this out with the estates involved, the estates of like Steve Ditko and Stan Lee and others. But everything will be fine. Everything will be fine. If Disney can make a deal with Sony and keep that deal going to continue to have Spider-Man in the MCU, they'll sort this one out. At the end of the day, it's just about the estates wanting what they're owed, right? Like if if legally they're entitled to some of this cash, then they should get some of that cash. That's the way it goes. Disney has been good about blocking access to that stuff, but I'm not 100% sure what precipitated it in this instance, but yeah, I think it's just a timing thing. I think that it's like just where it's at. But I was saying to you before we started recording, Amanda, the ironic thing in all of this is that if Disney didn't lobby so hard to be able to retain control of their IP, Spider-Man, Captain America, a bunch of these characters, Iron Man, like they all would have entered into the public domain a few years ago. At which point, like, none of this would be an issue. And if Disney wants to make the best Iron Man movie, then they get to make the best Iron Man movie. It's just that everybody at a certain point can make an Iron Man movie. Which like I don't know.
Some
Cause then
PQF,
you
I
get
think
into
that's
you get into like Robin Hood, King Arthur territory where like anybody can make a Robin Hood movie.
well, Sherlock territory as well.
Sherlock
Everybody makes
territory, yeah.
Sherlock. Right.
I mean, like that one's a little bit different because the estate of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle does control some of the Sherlock stuff
Some of it. Yeah, yeah,
still
yeah.
to this day. So there are only certain stories that you can tell. Um, but yeah, I if those laws hadn't been modified, everybody would be able to just tell Spider-Man stories. Which part of me goes like, that'd be kind of rad. That would be really cool
I don't
if
understand
just
that though,
everybody
because
could do
can't the companies that own the comic books just keep renewing the rights to it?
it. Because they have changed the laws to do that. But that was
Right.
not the intent of copyright law and the idea of things entering the public domain. Because I think when copyright law was like sort of first established, it was something like 60 years. Yeah, because it was essentially like it was meant to sort of be like lifetime. Like it was like once the person who created this has died, it should go to the public. Like just whoever wants to write to tell these stories should be able to do it. But Disney and other companies have fought really hard to create loopholes. I mean, like Disney gets the majority of the responsibility for it because Mickey Mouse is the character that really kind of propels these lobbying efforts, because Mickey Mouse as an icon, not even as a character like in a story or any of the like the rich lore of the character Mickey Mouse, of which it does not exist. Um, it's not. That's not what it's about. It is literally about the logo. It's literally about the emblem of Mickey Mouse on a T-shirt, on a hat, on a pair of socks, uh, on literally ears that you put on your head. Disney wants to make sure that nobody else can make Mickey Mouse ears, because you go to Disneyland, you get your Mickey Mouse ears. But to me, it's like at a certain point, like like let anybody do it. It doesn't matter, because the good content's gonna win out, right? Like the best product is gonna win. That's sort of that's how we've designed the system. That's how capitalism works. Disney has the most money. They're gonna make the best Mickey Mouse product, but but I also understand wanting to control your brand and make sure that somebody else isn't out there. I mean, like if Mickey Mouse enters the public domain, then you can legally make Mickey Mouse pornography, and there's nothing Disney can do about it anymore. And it's like Mickey Mouse is more than just a character. Like I said, like he's an icon. He kind of stands for something. He's almost a religious, spiritual figure in modern day, and means a lot to children all over the world. Uh, so maybe it's good that Disney keeps control of that property because they're good stewards of that property, and they make sure that Mickey Mouse isn't used for those purposes. But at the same time, they also use Mickey Mouse. They put Mickey Mouse on something when they do a real estate development that it might be harming the environment, or I don't know. I'm not making stuff up, but just kind of not speaking about anything specific, but just kind of Disney,
Yeah.
the corporation, puts Mickey Mouse on things in order to pacify the public, where they might not necessarily be doing the best thing. The current incarnation of the Disney Corporation is not as bad as past incarnations have been. Michael Eisner was really bad. He was really, really bad. Where it was like, just put Mickey Mouse on the thing and everybody will be cool with it. There's a lot of history there with them they wanted to build a historical theme park in the Northeast. I basically something that people from like New York, Boston, like that sort of area could travel to. Like that was like a couple hours away. And so they were going to build it on like an old battlefield. And like the whole
Jeez.
thing was going to be like American patriotic, like rah rah,
Ugh,
the history of America sort of thing.
weird.
I can't remember. I can't remember where it was that they wanted to do it, but wherever it was, successfully fought against and like basically like lobbied against Disney and shut it down under the thing of like, hey, here's an idea, guys. Don't pave over actual historical sites so that you can put up animatronic historical sites. That's not how that works. It's like if they went and they were like, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna tear down the Taj Mahal and then we're gonna build a Taj Mahal theme park on top of it. And it's like, but the Taj Mahal is right there and it's like the actual historical thing. Or like let's just knock down Stonehenge and put up Stonehenge water park. It's like, don't worry, there will be
That would be
educational stuff.
amazing.
There will
That would
be
be
there will be
amazing.
plaques and stuff where they can learn about Stonehenge. It's like, no. So it's yeah, Michael Eisner was a real big dum dum. I Defunct Land is an awesome YouTube series that I highly recommend to anybody who likes theme parks and wants theme park history. Um, After I went to Disneyland for my first time in 2010, and started becoming obsessed with the Disney parks, I eventually found that YouTube channel and have watched every video on it to learn
Wow.
everything that I can about the thing about Defunct Land. Disney Dan is another really good YouTube channel for Disney theme park enthusiasts. But the thing about Defunct Land that's really cool, the reason why it's called Defunct Land, and they've branched out not just doing Disney stuff, but doing just theme parks in general, is that like he focuses on Kevin Perjurer is the guy who does the show. He focuses on stuff that's been shut down, so that's why it's called Defunct Land. So it's like rides that don't exist anymore. Um,
Right.
and like the initial premise was that they were gonna take all the rides and make an imaginary theme park out of all of the defunct rides from Disneyland and wherever. And they were going to do like a virtual thing. I think that has kind of, I don't know if that's still happening, but they were doing that at one point where it would be like a VR experience that you could go in and like ride the original
Okay.
Disneyland submarine, the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea submarine, because now it's Finding Nemo, right? But it's like sort of
Right.
almost as like historical documents of like
Interesting.
archiving these different rides and stuff. But uh, yeah, Defunct Land is awesome. We did it. We did it. That's an episode.
Woo!
We
Yeah.
were all over the map. We talked about all of the pop culture that I think anybody needs to know about. And like I said, if you want more Ted Lasso conversation, uh, give us $10 a month.
There you go.
This is the thing. Yeah, like you only have to give us $10 this month, and you could go in. This is how Patreon works. It's fantastic. You could go in and you could like download the last uh how long have we been doing it this way?
My goodness. My goodness.
Like year and
Many
like
years.
2 years. When did
Yeah.
because
At
Arrow
least two.
ended right
At least
before
two.
the pandemic started, right?
There you go. Yeah. It
So
did.
it's like we're coming up on 2 years of like this format of like the uncut and blah blah blah. There are other bonuses and stuff that you can go back from like the older models that we had, but um you could just pay $10 this month, go back, download all of that stuff, and then listen to it and then like stop. You don't have to support us after that point. You can like stop after 1 month. And as a matter of fact, like you pay for your first month up front, like it charges you the second that you sign up, and then you could just immediately like download stuff and then immediately cancel it and not get charged for the next month, and then listen to all that stuff and like wait until you're done and then come back and then do that again. Or you could just pay us $10 a month. I feel like that's easier to just like set it and forget it, you know, like the slap chop. But slap chop is not set it and
Wow.
forget it. Set it and forget it
Wow.
is oh man, what infomercial is set it and forget it?
I
It's
feel like
like
a slow cooker of some kind. I don't
yeah,
know.
it's yeah, it was one of those. I don't think it was a slow cooker. I think it was like a pressure cooker thing of like set it and forget it, and it's like you would see them like put in the steak. God, oh my god, they would put in a steak in this thing and like close the lid, set it and forget it, and then come back after the like 15 minutes or whatever, and it would just be this like just massacred T-bone steak. They would cut into it and go, look at that delicious juicy steak, and it would just be solid brown, like the same color all the way through. Which anybody who enjoys a steak, I know I'm not talking to you, Amanda, you can stop listening for a minute,
It's all good.
but like
Got it.
anybody who enjoys a good steak, it's like, why would you do that to a piece of meat? Why would you do that to a piece of meat? And also steak, mind-numbingly easy to do on your stovetop or your barbecue. Like, it's literally just about preheating the surface. That's the only thing you need to care about. I mean, if you want to get fancy with the butter and stuff like that, you can do that. Put the rosemary or something like that in there if you want to be all Gordon Ramsay about it or whatever. But if you just want to have a decent steak, you just turn on your barbecue, just 5 minutes on each side and you're done. It's not, his steak is not hard. I don't understand why they use that as the example, other than to just show like, hey, you can throw a whole chicken breast in here and yeah, it'll be rubber, but you could technically eat it without dying. Set it and forget it. Infomercials. Do kids these days know what infomercials are? I don't know. I don't think they do.
No.
I don't think they do.
TikTok.
They
I
don't
feel like they
they
sell
don't have
things
to
via TikTok now.
they don't have to deal with, oh, it's a professional day. I got no place else to be. It's November. I'm not going outside right now. And it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. There's nothing on
Yikes.
TV for another hour. I guess I will watch
Yikes.
these people talk about this dehydrator. See what this
Yikes.
dehydrator is all about. And tell my
Yikes.
parents, we should buy this dehydrator, you guys. We could make our own beef jerky, you guys. And then
Whoa.
and then they buy your parents buy the dehydrator, and you know what they use it for? Fruit.
I was gonna say fruit.
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 That's what the dehydrator is.
Do you know how many times my mom made beef jerky with the dehydrator?
None.
One time. One time.
Oh, okay.
And it was not good. It was not very good beef jerky.
Maybe that's why she didn't remake it.
I think that's
You never
100%
thought that?
why.
There you
I
go.
think that 100% she was like, we could just go to the store and get beef jerky. It costs more
Correct.
money to do it this way, and it also took
Correct.
so long. It took so
Correct.
The dehydrator is not a great. It's just buy dehydrated apricots at the store, guys. Just get the
There you
mango
go.
in the package. Don't buy the
I
dehydrator.
love
It
it.
is not worth the
I love
effort.
As we're wrapping up, I do just want to can't be thunderquack without a little bit of political stuff. In Canada this week, the 30th, actually it might be Orange Shirt Day everywhere, but is the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation in Canada. So
Yeah.
I do just want to encourage folks, if you're listening to this, especially if that day has passed, just to do a little bit of research. They're still finding or recovering, rather, not many children graveyards at residential schools, and it's a lived trauma that is being experienced by many people in North America, indigenous individuals. And so I just encourage you to do what you can. We at my work are being given the day off. A lot of, in Canada, it was declared as sort of a federal holiday, so federal workers get the day off. So banks and things like that are being closed, and then there are certain businesses that are also honoring that, and I'm very, very grateful that my Studio is one of them. They are encouraging us. There was a great resource that they sent out to just explore different authors and people that have been writing and about Indigenous issues for many years. And but one thing that I'm going to participate in is a thing called One Day's Pay, and it's the idea that especially on something where it was given to us as a day off, essentially, that we still get paid for, is that where can we put that money back into the community? And specifically in Canada, one of the organizations I did donate to when all this sort of first came out was the Indian Residential School Survivors Society. But there's also the Orange Shirt Society. Anyways, it's a great resource if you want to sort of look at different ways that you can give back to the community and help with some of the truth and reconciliation that needs to happen in our community. So I just wanted to sort of do a shout out because that is happening this week, and I think it's good for us to stay connected and learn as much as we can to honor the land on which we live, because most of us came here and are not the original stewards of this land. So yeah. Anyways, that's it. That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah, I don't get the day off. My company is not specifically recognizing the day, which I'm let me be honest, I'm a little miffed about. Not because I want the day off. I actually have way too much work to do to take a day off.
Yeah,
but I just think that it's I extend my appreciation to Mainframe, to where you work, that you guys are recognizing it, because I think that it should just be a national holiday. Like, I think that this is something that, like Remembrance Day, I mean, like, for God's sake, in May we celebrate a queen who's been dead for I don't even know how long, right? Like, who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares? What does the monarchy have anything to do with Canada anymore? And yet we recognize that, right?
Yeah.
Every year.
Yeah.
And I mean, like let's be honest, we do it because it's the beginning of summer. That's what marks the beginning of summer in Canada.
Yeah.
It, like Memorial Day in the Memorial Day weekend in the States, right? Like, it's like, hey, this is the beginning of vacation season, the end of school and everything. But yeah, it really feels like a little bit of a half measure, and then it leaves it on individual
It is.
companies as to
It
whether or
is.
not
There's a
they
lot to
care
be.
enough about it. And it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't
It's a lot. It's a little bit of it's quite controversial, I think, in not fully going there. I mean, it's one of the things about Canada. Like, there's a lot of things where Canada tries but falls short in many, many, many ways.
Yeah.
And at least I will say they tried, and now I mean, hopefully enough businesses and enough individuals can participate in that conversation in a meaningful way, and we can continue to move the needle towards truth and reconciliation as much as possible.
Yeah,
But
I think it's a really important conversation. Here's the thing. Kids don't have school, which means that conversations happen at school about why aren't you guys coming into school on Thursday, right?
Right.
And that's good. Because that's the beginning. That's a really good, strong starting point, because the generations that are after us, like us specifically, I don't think that we're gonna change all that much with them. Maybe a little bit here and there. There might be a few hearts that are soft enough that we can get in there and change some old ways of thinking about Indigenous people in Canada. But I think for the most part, it's a lost cause. Let's look at the last few years as an example. That we're just kind of waiting out that generation to shuffle onto the next phase. But to me, with a lot of this stuff, a lot of the progressive stuff that we talk about on a regular basis, especially in the last couple of years, as Cara has gotten to that age where I can talk to her about some of this stuff, I find that to me is where we can actually have the most impact. Is maybe I can't change the world, but I can change the way that she sees the world. I can change the way that Cassie sees the world, and hopefully they will influence their friends, and hopefully having a day like a national day for truth and reconciliation, something that is acknowledged in school in the same way that we do for Remembrance Day on November 11th, that like we can have those conversations like we do in November about
Yeah.
Remembrance Day, and when we
Mhm.
talk about, you know, we all in elementary school learn to recite Flanders Fields and all of that sort of stuff. So hopefully we can get this to that point where that stuff for us, part of our growing up, that this conversation about truth and reconciliation can be a part of the fabric of the educational process for them, and then they'll be in a better place to bring up the next generation after them to do even better. So, you know, it's I'm gonna be grumpy about it, but at the same time, like you said, it's a start, it's a beginning, it's better than nothing. But let's not compromise too much at the same
Yeah.
time,
Yep.
right? Which is the very Canadian thing to do, kind of like you're saying. It's like sometimes we're like, you know what? Let's just like, but maybe if we just all meet each other halfway, everything will be
Yeah.
okay. And then nothing ever really happens, nothing ever really
Yeah.
changes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm going to continue to be a little bit grumpy about this one and vocal about this one. But uh, yeah, I'm so. Well, I'll make a couple passive aggressive comments during meetings this week, and
There you
we'll
go.
see where
There
that
you go.
gets me.
There
Uh,
you go. Good luck. Good luck.
yeah.
Godspeed.
Um,
All right.
but yeah, thank you for bringing that up, because that was definitely something worth mentioning that I would have just forgotten
Yeah.
about, because I'm too excited to get back to watching Midnight Mass,
Well, there you go.
because I'm a bad
Enjoy it.
person, but be better
No.
than me. So it's just what I tell my kids: just be better than me. Cool. That's it. That's it. Like I said, we did it. I said we did it like 15 minutes ago,
I know. I know. I know.
right?
I
No,
detour
no,
that
it's good. It's good. It was
for real.
worth it. It was
It's good.
worthwhile. Like you
Yay.
said, it wouldn't be an episode of Thunderquack, especially because we're
Yeah.
every 2 weeks. It's like you got to make sure you
Yeah.
get it in there, otherwise it's just
Something.
fluff. I Not that there's anything wrong with that. Maybe sometimes it's okay to just be
Yeah.
fluff.
Just. Yep.
Thank you guys for listening. I'll be back next week. I'm going to talk about Midnight Mass. That's what I'm going to do. We'll talk. I'll talk to you guys in a week about Midnight Mass. Amanda, you'll be back in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Are you going to see Venom?
I didn't technically watch the first one,
Oh,
so probably will
I'm gonna
not watch the second
I'm gonna make
one.
the pitch to you, and I'm gonna make the pitch to everybody else.
Okay.
Do not go into this thinking of it as a Spider-Man superhero anti-hero
Of
movie.
course. Of course. Yeah. Yeah.
It is alien goo rom-com. It is a story about a man and his alien symbiote, as they call it in the. It's so awful. I don't know why they say it so weird in the movie, but everybody does. Everybody says symbiote, and it's like, it just say symbiote. Or say what we said in the 90s, symbiont. There's no N in the word. There's no symbiotic is the. Yeah, anyways. Yeah, it is a love story between a man and his alien goo friend.
Which
And
I
them
get. You get
and
the
them
vibe. I get the vibe
Yeah.
for that. And Woody
Yeah.
Harrelson, he's a good time. So
Yeah, and so
it
this
seems like
this
it would be a
one
good
this
movie.
one is between a man and his alien goo, and the other alien goo and a serial killer.
Yeah.
And it's directed by Andy Serkis, and to be honest,
Oh, I
like
didn't
that
know
is the
that.
thing. That's the thing that's got me the most excited. The first one's not, right, but this new one is directed by Andy Serkis. I want to
Huh.
see. Andy Serkis is
Yeah.
such a cool creative person, such a great artist, and his performance is, man. I'm just gonna take a second. We do not talk enough about Andy Serkis in The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, and I really want to make an effort for that to be a bigger part of the conversation, because Snoke comes up, But that's the thing about Andy Serkis, is that we never talk about Andy Serkis. We talk about his characters. We talk about
yeah.
Gollum. We talk about
Yeah.
Caesar in the Planet of the Apes movies. We talk about Snoke. He disappears into those characters. He's so good. I am excited to see what he does with the Venom franchise. I'm going to see it on
It's a good
Thursday
choice.
night.
It's a good choice for him. Like
It's
that,
brilliant. It's
I
a
see it.
beautiful
It
pairing.
makes a
Yeah.
lot of sense.
Yeah.
Very
Two
cool.
great
Well,
tastes
I'm
that taste
excited to
great
hear
together.
what you. I'm excited to hear what you think.
I think that you would actually, if you give Venom a fair shot, I think that you would actually really like it.
I the thing is, I have watched most of Venom because somebody else on a plane was watching it while I was watching it through
Yeah.
the seats. So I know what happens in the first Venom. So, but I could watch it.
Yeah, but the thing about Venom is that it's not about the destination. It's about the people that he eats along the way, right? So,
Oh, cute.
you know, I'm excited for Let There Be Carnage. What a subtitle. It tells me everything that I need to know. I tweeted today, high hopes, low expectations, which is the sweet spot for me. It's like,
it's true. Yeah.
because no matter what, I think I'm going to be okay. High hopes, low expectations. Woody Harrelson's either going to give a brilliant performance or an entertaining performance. Hopefully both.
Nice.
Yeah, cool. Thank you guys for listening. We'll be back in a couple of weeks to talk about whatever we end up talking about.
Stay safe, everybody. Wash your hands and be kind to one another.
Follow the Thunderquack Podcast on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook by searching the Thunderquack Podcast. You can support us in 3 ways. First, by heading to the podcast service of your choice and leaving a rating and review. Second, by going to store.thunderquack.com to pick up some merch from your favorite podcasts. And last but not least, by heading to patreon.com/thunderquack to kick in with your monthly pledge of support and get cool rewards like early access and extended episodes. The Thunderquack Podcast is the official podcast of thunderquack.com. Head to thunderquack.com to discover more great podcasts.